Hey, what's up, guys? It looks like XRP is potentially in this wave two here. Remember, we talked about yesterday, this could be one, two, three, four, five. We have divergence between the third and the fifth, and we have a relatively pretty strong impulse here that took out this local high and came up, tagged the top here, found some resistance. Now we're pulling back. So I'm thinking maybe a 618 retrace and some type of ABC correction here. Now the trick is, how does this come down? Does it come down correctively? Does it come down impulsively and then come back up, back test, reject, and continue down? That's going to tell us if this wave has any, you know, legs, right? So at the end of the day, that's kind of what I'm waiting for. It looks promising, but anything can happen here. But what I really like is this flat. I mean, it looks beautiful. Look how symmetrical that looks. Obviously, it could go down into an expanded flat, right? And that's okay. I would imagine if that's the case, then, this whole thing could be some kind of flat here. And the way we'll know that is if we get a little bit of a pullback, maybe pop the high here, and then come down for that fifth wave. So I could see it being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we'll check on Bitcoin and see if anything resembles something like that. But you also have this right here, the bull market support band. So I think as long as we hold above this bull market support band, this three-wave bullish correction is definitely in play here for continuation. So again, we got a nice impulse to the upside, a three-wave pullback, and this wave right here, we came and we back tested the bull market support band. We potentially got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves to the downside. Again, we got the bullish divergence. So let's zoom in, and you can see what happened over the night. We had this, or even yesterday, right? We came on down, and I mean, that could even be a diagonal there. I didn't think about that. Maybe this is some kind of leading diag. That would be very bullish. Or did I talk about, I can't remember. But it wouldn't work because it looks good, but we got 1, 2, and 3. But look, 3 didn't. You wanted 3 to come and break this low, then come back up, then come down. So it's a little bit truncated, but I mean, it looks okay, right? I mean, you're basically in this channel here, right? You're having this push up, and now we're sort of correcting down. We took out the low, we got the divergence, and now we broke above this downward resistance line. Sorry guys, my feeling a little bit under the weather today, but that's not gonna stop us now, is it? It's all this dry heat constantly, like maybe it's allergies, I don't know. But so when we look at the 5-minute chart, this is for XRP, we got here a 1, 2, 3, right? A, B, C for a 4. That's a running flat right there. You notice how it didn't go below A. That was an ABC three-way move. And then boom, we hit the high. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're coming down in an A wave. Maybe this is some kind of B. And then we want to either get some kind of ABC. Boom, boom, boom. Get a little bit of a 618 retrace. You take this whole wave, cut it in half, right? About right there. And that's usually where it likes to come down to. Or this could be an ABC here, and that's all you get. And this is a 1, this is a 2, and now we're going. But I wouldn't think so. I think this needs to get a little bit more complex in here. Now, it could be any type of correction. For example, number 1, actually, let me do this. It could be A, B, C. Or it could be A, and we come up here in a B wave. We take the top, and then we come down into C. And C could be a running flat. It could be a regular flat. Or it could be an expanded flat. Right? So those are your flats. The way it's a flat is if this B wave comes up at least 90%. So that's the trick. And then, this could also be an A, B, or like a rise, crash, retrace. We come down into reaccumulation, go sideways in here, and then break out. So again, A, B, C, or it could be a flat, or it could be something. I mean, there's a lot of different things. The point of all of that is to figure out, well, what's the net result of whatever happens. And that is more upside based off those ideas. Now, how do we know it's, for example, if that's not the case? Well, if it's not the case, then what you do here is if you take the trend-based fib extension, you go down to the bottom here, and wherever the B wave stops, let's say it stops, right up here, about here. If we go beyond, this area here, especially the 1618, and it looks too impulsive, then it's probably, it's probably reversing. It's not an ABC anymore. It's actually an impulse to the downside. So really, if you get to these areas, it's going to be more likely it could be an impulse, right? So we don't want that. Another simple thing we can do is just find out where the retracement levels are. And I would, to keep it simple, is if we close or break below this, right? Then, we probably got another low, or at least a double bottom coming in. But if it stays within this area, right, it could be just an ABC. So, and another way you can know is also how it moves, right? Right now it's moving correctively, right? It's coming up, coming back down, right? So if we get another push to the upside and come down, we want oscillation. That's the key, right? Is oscillation inside, right? Or even consolidation, whatever you want to say. But, that's what we're going to be looking for, is how this is moving correctively or impulsively. So, moving to Bitcoin here. Bitcoin's a little bit tougher right now. I just don't like it as a 5 wave. So the idea has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But where's the wave 2 at? I don't really see it that much. It's kind of just like a waterfall down, a pullback, and then sort of this fake low that came back up here. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what's that doing, right? I don't like, number one, when you have a high and then it comes and takes the high and then it impulses down. That's a bad thing when that happens. We would rather have that be the high, because then that shows a sharp rejection, and that's what it did. Another thing I don't like is this, we don't really have a wave 2 here. It just kind of drips down, right? And there's no real definitive wave 5 because I only have 3 here. So I'm wondering if this is going to be some type of WXY, some type of 3-wave move, something like this, W, and then this is going to work itself out, X, and then we get Y down here, right? So I'm thinking that's probably a better idea. And then as far as what this is, I mean, it could be A, B, and then we get some kind of C, like an expanded flat here, or some type of flat pattern for wave X. And then we come down in wave Y, take out this liquidity, grab it, and then take it up. So that right now is kind of like my main idea here. So if that's the case, then, we should expect more downside to come. And then, again, just take your Fibbo here and see where we can see between 55K and basically 57K. So between 55 and 57, that's the golden pocket. That's kind of where we want to look for the bulls to defend. Anything beyond that, you're just at more risk of breaking the low. So, but it could come down here and make a double bottom, right? So, and by the way, this idea was talked about yesterday being a W or a 3-wave move. So we had 3 up and we get 3 down. Yes, now I remember. Okay, 3 up, 3 down. So yes, that was a WXY. So we don't care about 5 waves in here if that's the case. Really, I mean, a WXY itself could be an ABC, right? In wave X. So this is W, this is X, and inside of X could be W or A. It could be WXY or ABC. So if we get 3 up and we get 3 down, we hit that 618 pocket, we could get a big move to the upside. But this thing kind of looks a little bearish at the moment. So, it might not be finished here. It could be finished to the downside. I think it is. I think it is finished. So this is W. Let's get an X here. Let's get a retracement. We had the crash. Let's get the retrace. That's what I'm thinking. And then from there, we can go into reaccumulation and go higher. It could be a regular WXY and then just continue to go higher. But the point is, right, again, point A, point B. Where's it gonna go? It usually goes to the middle, right? Now, if it's not finished and we have one more wave to the downside, okay, then we get that triple divergence, and then we start our way up. It won't be as high, it'll probably be a little bit lower, but at least it gives us the indication that there's an X wave, so that we can look for Y, so that we can look to long once that's complete. So it's all about tracking, right? I mean, think about that movie, I don't remember it, but the sniper movie with Mark Wahlberg, right? I mean, they're tracking, and then eventually, what happens? All hell breaks loose in that circumstance. But for analysts, it's about tracking the wave until it gets to your target, and then once it's basically like, a shooter video game. You're tracking the enemy, right? You're watching his movements, and he's going to the projected pathway, right? And you're kind of like up in the sky in this drone looking down at the enemy. And once he gets to your target area, like remember the game Battleship, boom, and then you hit it, right? And hope for the best. So for me, if I was going to do that, most people dollar cost average, so my dollar cost average would be here, let it work itself up, then come down here, then here. So maybe 5% here, maybe 10 or 15% there, just as an example, right? Not financial advice, but that's kind of how I would play it. And if it starts to come down like this, right, then I would roll whatever I got here into a spot position, right, and put it on cold storage. And don't worry about it, because eventually that's going to be made up for. So it kind of depends what you're doing, but for me, dollar cost averaging is the best way. So yeah, that's about it here for Bitcoin and XRP. Let's look at the very small time frames here. I kind of like this three-wave shape here. Boom, boom, boom. Right? This looks like, okay, we got 3 up, guys. Look at this. We got 3 up, we got 3 down, and now look at this. We got 1, 2. What's the next move? What's the next move? It should be like that, right? We got 3 up, 3 down, and we need 3 back up, or 5 up, right? So that's the next move. I think, in my opinion, again, I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like. Now, is it possible that this just went like that? Yeah, it is, but it's not really symmetrical. And when you look, it looks like it wants to do this, right? So if that's the case, let's look a little bit closer here. Well, to me, you kind of got this little bit of an impulse to the upside, and now you're sort of oscillating, you're correcting to the downside. Look at that, you're flagging out in here, right? This is a straight shot up, but this is corrective nature going down. That tells me that we're more likely to break to the upside, right, rather than the downside. And also the confluence of going to the upside. This is the 7-minute chart. This is not the daily. This is not the weekly. This doesn't mean for forever. This just means a little bit of a pump here, right? We should see, let me show you right now, trend-based fib extension from the top of this here down to the bottom, contingent that the bottom's in, right? Maybe between 59.8 to 60K. So that's about $1,000 move for Bitcoin, give or take. So that's about a 2 to 2.5%, right? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking like 20, 30% here. So, this is, let's get that WXY here. But, put on like 50, 100 bucks up to a 5 or 10x move. That's pretty decent, right? For a trade, right? You gotta have a stop loss, and you gotta know when to let it go, right? So if I was trying to do this here, I'm looking at this like, and the more you zoom in, the more challenging it becomes. 3. I got a B, and I got another 3. So maybe a W, X, and a Y, and then I got a 1, and I got a 2. Okay, so maybe the 1, 2 is something like that. I'll dollar cost average here and a little bit here, having my stop here, right? And let it flag out and continue to go higher. But if it comes up, comes back down, right, and then gets rejected here, I can let it go or get stopped out, right? So if the idea is right, it's about executing it. But you know, something tells me it's probably going to be a little bit deeper here. Something like this. Boom, boom, boom. Something symmetrical with that. Yeah. So I basically took the length of this and put it down here. So, okay. So yeah, we got 3, right? So I would look actually to enter right there if the conditions were still good. Just, you know, as an example showing what I think. You also have this sort of this downward resistance line here to watch for. You sort of have a little shoulder, head, shoulder here. So this could be a, you know, maybe a good little pump for a next wave. Now, now what is it doing when we zoom out? Well, again, this could be W, and then we have 3 up, 3 down, and then 3 back up. So that would be our X, and then we would come down and get Y. Right? It's yeah, it's not that pretty, but it is what it is. I mean, you know, it's an idea we can work with. But if this continues to break down like this, right, and we take this low here, then I'm going to look at this as a 4th wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm looking at 5 down here, right? And if we get 5, then that's going to be worse, because then we still have to go up in a B wave and then come back down later, right, for the C wave. So A, B, C, right, and then go. So it'd be a lot more complex. It would be, but it probably wouldn't be that big. It probably would be maybe like that, right? It wouldn't be so big. So 3 up, and then we would get 3 down, and then that's when we go 3 up or 5 up, right? So again, if we break this low, then it's probably basically the difference is WXY or ABC. So right now, I think it's a WXY, we come up. But if it's an ABC, we break the low, we create that 5th wave, then we go up, right? Now, yesterday I was saying, yeah, 3 up, 3 down, but it could also be, this could also be 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's 5. You see we broke the low, and there's your 5. And this is a 1, this is a 2, right? And now we're going to go up in 3, 4, 5, maybe like an ABC or something. So, but regardless of what happens, I think the next move higher is going to be the trick, because is it going to be impulsive or is it going to be corrective? You know, this could have been, you know, a pullback and a done deal, and now we're going higher, right? And what idea does that fall under? still the main kind of idea, right? Which is really it's 3 up, 3 down, 5 up, or it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what it's always been on this time frame here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be our leading diag. Then we flag out. We get back above the bull market support band right here, and we retest it, build the base, continue higher. That's what I want to see. Personally, I want to see the diag. But if we come up here correctively, and then we come down, right? Obviously, it's going to be a 3 up, 3 down. It's going to be a WXY. So those are the two options, right? And it's all going to boil down to how this wave moves up or moves down, right? So if it does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how does it move up? Does it move up correctively? It most likely will if we get 5 down. If this is 3, 1, 2, 3, it's an ugly 3 though. Or actually, no. It's a ugly 3-way move like this. 1, 2, and 3. So I don't really like it at all, but that's what it is. And then you could say, okay, well that's 4 and 5, but you can't count it that way because this took the high here, right? That took the high. So it can only be 3 if it took the high. When I zoom in, it looks like it just looks like it wants to do that and get down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get down here. All right, I think that's enough. Let's see. When we look at other charts here, see, I don't like that at all. It just seems like it's just going down too fast. There's no oscillation. This is what I want to see. It's just going straight down, right? That's impulsing. We don't want that. So this needs to figure itself out. You know, you got to check the wave. You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself, how they say, right? But I do like it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, you cannot deny that's a very powerful impulse to the upside. Now, this is probably wave A. It's impulsing down like a wave A, but we need something like that, and then something like that. So let's get like a corrective wave going here, and then that's where I would be interested, right? So. But this wave A, if it is a wave A, it should be finishing soon, I would imagine. Let's zoom in a little bit. And you can say, well, who cares about CRV? Well, you know, it's, you know, I do have 5 here, and it's clean. 1, 2, and then I would say all of that's 3. Here's your 4, and this could be a 5th wave diag. Oh yes, I like that a lot. Look at that. I didn't even check that out. So boom, and then what do we have here? Look at this. We got a push to the upside, and now we're pulling back. But I don't like the pullback. It's a little bit you know, impulsive. I wish it was more wavy, right? I needed stronger waves, but you know what? CRV doesn't really give you that. It's kind of like straight up, straight down. You have to kind of look pretty close, and the way this moved up was more impulsive than the way this is moving down. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I might pause the video and take a little stab at it, and you know, let dollar cost average a little bit. Obviously it could go a little lower, And I would want to look for, let's put this up here. You look at that, we're right at the 618. So I might take a little bit of a stab here. So, but yeah, that doesn't mean you should, right? That's not financial advice. So I paused the video, took a little bit of a shot there on CRV, and waiting. You know, let me zoom out again. I want to see this thing get in a retracement here in a B wave. So A, B, right? And then maybe I'll cut it, come down for a C, and then re-enter here. Now, if it just keeps going down, 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 and it breaks the low, right? Obviously, just cut the trade or stopped out and just let it sort of fizzle out and try again. But for a spot position, right? If that's different, now spot is okay. I mean, no problem. If it wants to come down, there's no point in me dealing with the exchange fees, right? Because when you buy spot, obviously, buy anything, you got to pay fees, right? Trading fees. So I'm not gonna just, buy spot and then okay, it rolls down a little bit, and I'm gonna sell it because the amount of trading fees will eat you way more than just a little bit further down to go. Until your next counter wave. So yeah, let's move to MATIC. Now MATIC looks like it wants to retrace here pretty soon. I mean, I want to see it come down a little bit. You got your shoulder, your inverse head and shoulders here. Do we have divergence? Look at that. We got bullish, strong divergence. So what do we want to see? We want to see a march back to the retracement level. Point A, point B. Let's get to point C here. Let's get in the middle. And then we can cut the trade or reevaluate, right? Again, not financial advice, but that's kind of what I would expect. And then if this goes up correctively and it gets rejected, it could be a C wave, A, B, C, or this could go up impulsively and we sort of consolidate here, flag out, and then break even higher. But that decision will be made up here, not down here. So it's more likely to come up than down, right? Just based off the waves here. I mean, you can see we're right back at support. We landed perfectly here on support. So, and that's quite a big drop with no real subwaves in between. And now we're sort of finding some support here with divergence. And then when we zoom in, you can see an impulse here. I mean, that looks like kind of an impulse, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't really like the fifth. It's a little bit corrective. And now we have this sort of 3, 3. Maybe we get another 3 down, something like that, right? Again, pull the fib. Right there in the golden zone would be something I'd look for to take a stab at it, right? So for okay, so that's MATIC. Let me zoom even further out. Now, when I look at it from this perspective, it looks very bearish. It looks like this thing is very fast. And now that I look at it zoomed out, I probably wouldn't buy it. Just because of how vicious it went down. Like, it should have been nice and corrective, right? But it just smacked down, right? So the amount of weight distribution was 2 candles. Well, look at that, was equalized with 2 candles too. So, you know, this is probably gonna break the low, or at least the order blocks down here. By the way, the monthly candle is gonna end today, or this is building a bigger base here, and all we're doing is coming down and maybe getting a little bit of divergence here, right? But ultimately it's gonna be maybe like a Wyckoff or some kind of oscillation in here, building a base, right? But it looks like it wants to break the low. So then I would say, just like, we don't really have a good wave one, or I mean a wave two. Wave one, wave two, there's really not much there. Unless you say this is wave one, this is wave two, all of this is wave three, right? And this is wave four, and now we're going down for wave five. That's probably what's going on here with MATIC. And it would probably come down, maybe take this low out. But if we don't want to take that low out, right, because then it would invalidate, well, it would kind of screw up the 1 2 3 4 5 A B C. But at this point I think it's so big that I think you could just say this is 3 up, this is 3 down, and now we should get 5 up or 3 up. But before we do that, we need 5 waves. 1 2 3 4. We still need another wave to the downside, because there's no evidence to say that that low is going to hold, at least for MATIC. So when I look at ADA, I don't really like too much this channel here. I mean, it is going down, which is good, and we do have somewhat of some bullish divergence. 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah, I mean, ADA looks better. It looks like it has 5 waves. Fetch looks good too. 1 2 3 4 5. We got a clear 5-wave move. Engine 1 2 3 4 5. Now here's the thing, like the 5th wave could be a diagonal too, so we could get 1 2 3 4 5 and make it kind of like that, right? Like a falling wedge type of ending diag, and then we break out, right? So it's all about the bottoming process, and I think that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with these oscillations up, oscillations down. That's all part of the consolidating bottoming process. But the reason it does that is because it's, number one, trying to fit itself in, but then also number two, psychologically, it pushes people out of their position, right? You're shaking out the weak hands, right? You're already at the bottom, and now you got up a little bit, and then it starts to take it back away from you. It's psychologically making you think, right? Oh, we're just going to go down, 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 down. But it's all part of that bottoming process. So, I could be wrong. We can have much more downside to go. But I think it would have to take some kind of event, some type of black swan or something to do that. ICP, it's starting to look like a triangle here. We have this triangle, kind of like a 1 2 3 4 5, kind of like a little bit of a triangle maybe. So I think we might have some downside here. Now it's a little bit conflicting with some of the charts. With theta, I got a clear 5-wave move. 1 2 3 4 5. Right? And but I don't have a 1 2 yet, because I only have 3 here. So I really want to see this be a diag. 1 2 3 4 5. Filecoin. Yeah, I think Filecoin's a good example. I think the low is in. Because if you look at the length of this wave here. Now look at the length of this wave here. You can see that they're basically equal in size, which means what? Well, they're in the same degree, right? This wave and this wave is in the same degree. Just kind of like how, this wave and this wave are in the same degree. Okay? So that's how you know we're probably getting close here to a bottom. Right? You kind of got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, you even got 7 here. So you got enough waves and you got enough time to say that, look at this right here. You see that base? That's probably what we're doing now. And I think this Filecoin is probably the best representation because my job is kind of to emphasize what I'm seeing. Sometimes it could be confusing because I could be saying a different thing, but obviously, when you have dealing with time frames is important. Knowing what time frame I'm referring to, but when you look at the bigger picture, just to kind of have like a summary, like, okay, what is it going to do for the next, say, 30 days? Well, when we got down to the bottom of this wave, we built a base. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. We're building some kind of a base in here, right? So that means oscillation. And we've already been oscillating to the downside here. So if I just put something like this up here, you can see this would be like accumulation down here. Accumulating, right? And then maybe selling up here. If you're trading, oscillating, right? But for most, I would just say dollar cost averaging in this zone here. We already have that beautiful wick. Look at that wick. Beautiful. And look at the bullish divergence on the weekly chart. That is strong, guys. I believe the bottom is in here. I mean, there's too many things. Obviously, we could go lower, right? But I think, again, we're just going to be building a base in here. And then also take all that off the screen. Go to the monthly chart, or first the 2-week, right? We had a 9 on the 2-week chart. And I think this 9 is still gonna, it takes time for these to play out, but you can see we're starting to build a base underneath this perfected 9, right? It's a perfected 9. So I think, and then also, right, you're on this trend line here. Perfect, right? I mean, it's a little subjective how you can draw it, but I think it's a good spot here. And this looks like maybe a 1, 2, 1, 2. So the very least, once it's done building a base and we start going back up, does it go up correctively or does it go up impulsively? And then also, what happens when we get to the retracement levels, right? Because this could just be a pullback, a 3-way pullback, and then a wave 1, wave 2, and we still got to go down. But we're going to know that, potentially know that, when we get up here, right? I don't think that's going to happen, by the way. I think we have a good chance at this being 1, 2, 1, 2, and we get something bigger here, right? Because this thing, I'm looking at the wrong chart, but you still need to, I think, retrace. And but yeah, and then you take Ethereum Classic, for example, and look at it. It's perfect, right? You have that 9 buy on the 2-week chart, right? And then when you know, compare it to Dogecoin, I mean, remember this, right? We got to always keep this in play as well. So, yeah, I'm trying to fit it here as best as I can. Yeah, I mean, you can see that 2-week 9 buy. We're back testing the top of this channel here. So if we go and look at something that's done this before, right? Actually, let me put that down to, say, maybe the 5-day chart. I'm trying to get it equal here as far as time goes. So for Dogecoin, it's actually the 4-day chart. So it's a bigger area, I think. Or no, it's actually kind of the same. So look at this. You can basically see the similarities, right? So let me take this off. Okay, there we go. And then let me take this off here. So how did Dogecoin get this blast off? What did it do? Well, if we look closely, when it got down here, what did it do? It went sideways. All right, so when we look here, have we gone sideways enough? Probably not, right? So we want to, let me extend this out a little bit. We want to start kind of oscillating in here, just like how we were oscillating in here, and then eventually break out. So there's going to be big scary dips to the downside. It's going to feel very bearish, and you're going to see a lot of bearishness, right? But it's likely that it's just trying to bottom out, right? So it made a little bit, you can see it kind of made slightly lower lows, but it wasn't crazy. It was just consolidating here in a tight range before it broke out and it back tested. So that's what we want to see. We want to break out and back test. So if I zoom out a little bit, actually, if I can, never mind. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say today. Let me see if this would be better. Nope, it's actually, because the chart is so stretched out, I want to get all the data in there. But yeah, I'm thinking we got upside. We definitely have some upside to go, but we got to work out all of this area down here. So I think that'll do it for this video. The small time frames, it's not really helpful on Ethereum Classic and just in general, right? So this could be some kind of triangle before, or some kind of fourth wave before we make one more low. Just be careful and really understand where we are at this moment. But anyway, that'll do it for this video. I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.